January 2nd, 2026, Pokrovsk Sector. Four Ukrainian soldiers have 60 seconds to live. What happens in the next 3 minutes will change warfare forever. This is the story of how technology saved human lives and how a swarm of machines became heroes. Let's get started. The fortress under siege. Pokrovsk, a name that means nothing to most of the world, but to those who fought on the eastern front of Ukraine, it's everything. For over a year, Pokrovsk stood as Ukraine's fortress in the east, a rock that Russian forces crashed against again and again. But by early 2026, the cracks were showing. A city that once thrived with 60,000 souls, now reduced to a skeleton. The strategic importance of Pokrovsk cannot be overstated. A logistics hub, a supply artery, a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. By winter 2025, something had changed on this battlefield. Not the trenches, not the artillery. What changed was the sky. The drone revolution had transformed this war. What started with cheap commercial quadcopters in 2022 had evolved into something far more deadly. By 2024, Ukraine's tech sector had pivoted entirely to military production. By 2025, artificial intelligence entered the equation. By January 2026, Ukraine's domestic drone industry was producing cutting-edge unmanned systems capable of autonomous coordination. Over 200 companies were involved, from garage workshops to high-tech facilities. An entire nation had become a weapons laboratory. Pokrovsk had become a death trap. Russian drones patrolled the skies like hunting hawks. Supply convoys turned into funeral processions. But no one had ever attempted what was about to happen on the cold morning of January 2nd, 2026. The observation post. Dawn breaks over Pokrovsk on January 2nd, 2026. The temperature is -8 degrees Celsius, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. The observation post on Pokrovsk's southern perimeter was supposed to be routine. 4 soldiers, 1 shift, standard reconnaissance. OP7, they called it. Just a reinforced position overlooking the approaches to the city. Sandbags, a concrete bunker, the tools of modern warfare in what felt like a World War I trench. That morning, something wasn't right. Movement in the fog, not the usual reconnaissance drone. This was different. Close. Getting closer. 12 Russian soldiers appearing like ghosts from the morning mist. Elite troops trained for exactly this kind of operation. They moved with surgical precision, surrounding the observation post from 3 directions. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. The 4 Ukrainian defenders had no chance. The 4 Ukrainian soldiers were captured, alive. Hands zip-tied behind their backs, forced to their knees in the snow, guns to their heads. In modern warfare, capture meant something worse than death. These 4 soldiers knew exactly what awaited them. And as they knelt in that frozen mud, hands bound, they began to make peace with never seeing their families again. The Russian squad leader called for extraction. A vehicle would arrive in minutes. Once these prisoners were in that vehicle, they'd disappear forever. But 7 kilometers away, someone was watching. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone had captured everything. The assault, the capture, the guns to heads. And the live feed was streaming directly to the 25th Airborne Brigade's aerial reconnaissance unit. The eyes in the sky. In a darkened room 7 kilometers away, operators watched it unfold. 4 of their own, on their knees, about to be taken or killed. The decision was made in seconds, not by a distant general, but by the drone operators who had the tools and the will to act. They called it Operation Angel Swarm. 23 FPV strike drones. 1 target, 1 chance. The order went out across 3 units simultaneously: the 25th Airborne Brigade, the 68th Jaeger Brigade, adjacent units, even civilian volunteer operators. The message was clear. If you have a drone ready to fly, launch now. FPV drones, first-person view. The operator wears video goggles showing exactly what the drone's camera sees. You are the drone, flying at 100 kilometers per hour, 6 feet off the ground to avoid detection. The skill level required is extraordinary. Now imagine coordinating 23 of them from different units, flown by different operators who'd never trained together, converging on a single point while enemy soldiers have guns to your comrades' heads. No second chances, one shot to get it right. And the clock was ticking. The Swarm. At 0742 local time, the Swarm launched. 23 drones, scattered across 7 kilometers, lifted off simultaneously, low and fast. Speed was survival. 60 seconds to target. The drones screamed across the frozen landscape at full throttle. 30 seconds. The Russians heard them. That high-pitched whine of drone motors, unmistakable and terrifying, coming from everywhere. The psychological effect was immediate and devastating. 23 drones moving with coordination, creating a symphony of terror in the winter air. The Russian squad leaders screamed orders, air defense. But what air defense? They had rifles. You can't shoot down a drone moving at 100 kilometers per hour when you don't know which direction it's coming from. 10 seconds. The Ukrainian prisoners understood. That sound meant their brothers were coming. The Russian soldiers scattered, instinct overriding discipline. The 4 Ukrainians dropped flat, face first into the frozen mud. And then the Swarm struck. Explosions rippled across the Russian position. But these weren't random. Every drone had been aimed with precision. The first wave took out 6 Russian soldiers in under 2 seconds. The second wave destroyed their equipment and extraction vehicle. The third wave created a wall of explosions between the prisoners and any Russians still standing. In less than 3 minutes, all 4 Ukrainian soldiers had broken free. Still zip-tied, they crawled, then ran through the chaos. Other drones marked safe paths for them. Final count, 10 Russian soldiers eliminated, 2 wounded and captured. Their entire operation annihilated by machines they never saw coming. The 4 soldiers reached friendly lines 8 minutes later, still alive, still free. The Swarm had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. But this was just the beginning. The aftermath and the revolution. Word spread fast. Within hours, every Ukrainian unit had heard about the rescue, the Swarm, the impossible mission that succeeded. What happened at Pokrovsk wasn't just a successful rescue, it was proof of concept. For years, military strategists had talked about drone swarms theoretically, but Ukraine, under fire, under pressure, with limited resources, actually made it work in combat. February 4th, 2026, a coordinated drone swarm defended against a Russian assault near Pokrovsk. 200 Russian infantry, armored vehicles. The response, 87 drones launched in waves. Result, 80 Russian casualties, multiple vehicles destroyed, assault completely broken, 0 Ukrainian casualties. February 8th, 2026, the Black Swarm operation destroyed a critical Russian logistics bridge. 34 drones, 6 different directions, at night. The bridge, considered too well defended for conventional attack, fell into the river. In the weeks following the rescue, coordinated drone swarm tactics became standard operating procedure across the Ukrainian military. By mid-February 2026, over 90% of frontline supply rounds near Pokrovsk were being conducted by unmanned ground vehicles. The roads that had been death traps were now safe. The robot revolution had arrived, not gradually, but explosively. Transformation that should have taken 10 years occurred in 10 weeks. Technology cannot replace the human soldier, but it can multiply their effectiveness. It can save their lives. What we saw at Pokrovsk proved that in modern warfare, the side that innovates fastest, that adapts most effectively, that side wins. The human element. 23 operators. Some were career military, others were civilians, gamers, engineers, tech workers who volunteered their skills. The youngest was 19, the oldest was 52. What united them wasn't training or background, it was knowing their countrymen needed them, and they had the power to help. The operators talk about that moment when your drone is diving toward the target, and you realize in 3 seconds, another human being will die because of your actions. You see everything through the drone's camera. You see their faces, and you have to maintain absolute focus because any mistake could kill the very people you're trying to save. The 4 rescued soldiers, their real names classified. Falcon 1 is a father of 2. Falcon 2 had gotten engaged 3 weeks before. Falcon 3 just turned 21. Falcon 4, 43, a career soldier who'd seen too much death. They all made it home. Falcon 1's kids drew pictures of drones as good luck charms. Falcon 2's wedding happened in March. Falcon 3 is still serving. Falcon 4 retired. He'd seen enough war. 4 men who should have died are alive because of the human beings who wielded technology with courage and skill. One operator said, "The drones are just machines. They don't save anyone. We do, the people flying them." That swarm was 23 human beings working together, united by purpose. That's what saved those lives. This isn't a story about drones. It's a story about humanity at its finest. Pokrovsk still stands. As of February 11th, 2026, the city remains in Ukrainian hands, battered but unbroken. The war grinds on. But on January 2nd, 2026, something changed. Not just in tactics or technology, but in what's possible when innovation meets desperation, when machines serve humanity rather than replace it. The future of warfare is already here. It arrived in a swarm of drones over a frozen battlefield in eastern Ukraine. What did Pokrovsk prove? That human beings, when fighting for something they truly care about, can accomplish the impossible. That necessity drives innovation faster than any research budget. That the bonds between soldiers can inspire tactics that change wars. And 4 soldiers who should have died that day are alive to tell the story. Their children will grow up. Falcon 1's kids will remember their father coming home. Falcon 2 danced at his wedding. Falcon 3 will live the life he thought was over. Falcon 4 enjoys the retirement he earned. Because on a cold January morning, 23 people they'd never met decided their lives were worth fighting for. As of February 2026, Ukrainian forces operate over 1.5 million drones across all categories. The innovation continues. The drones are tools, powerful tools, but what makes them matter is the people who build them, fly them, and most importantly, the people they protect. On January 2nd, 2026, 4 families got phone calls confirming their loved ones were still alive. 4 soldiers came home. The sound of that swarm, 23 drones converging on a single point, that's a sound those 4 soldiers will never forget. It's the sound of people refusing to give up on them. The sound of innovation born from desperation. The sound of the future. But most of all, it's the sound of hope. And in war, hope is the most powerful weapon of all.